Hello, everyone. So thrilled that you're here. There's nothing like a wonderful audience. And I have to say, this is exciting for many reasons. I'm coming to you from Santa Monica, California. And one of the things I love about what I get to do is I can do it from any place in the world. And I get to speak to people, amazing people like our guest today in Slovenia. Did I say it properly?
Yes.
And I am going to let the marvelous, I'm going to try again, Peter Faleskini introduce himself properly. He has so much to share with us today about accountability. And Peter, please take it away. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to our chat. We had a chat before the recording, and it was great. We really hit it on, or how we can say about that. So my story.
Oh, great.
Yeah, my story is just let's say a story of a successful young person that had it all, tried a lot of things, did all the possible mistakes, survived, experienced burnout, and then started a 240 weeks journey of self-exploration, self-improvement, and looking to find the meaning in life after 25 years in business and without good goals. And the trigger for all this was a bankruptcy procedure and a burnout.
Yuck. Nobody ever likes that. But before you, the good news is, as so often with accountability happens, you turn that into this beautiful transformation in your life. I want the audience to know a little bit about your upbringing, and prior to that bankruptcy, just how enormous the success had been.
Okay, so first the upbringing. I come from a typical European family of multinations. I come from lineage of 4 different nations. So one is Slovenian, as you already mentioned. I'm currently in Slovenia. The one that I got the surname from is Italian, and then I have also French and German relatives. So I'm a mix of all the languages, all the cultures in one place. And the place where I have a farm now, where I'm stationed, in the last 100 years, it was first under Austria, then it was Yugoslavia, then it was Italy, Germany, then Yugoslavia again, and it's now Slovenia. And it might change that in 10 years, we'll be under 6th or 7th country. So I have a diverse background, and I was really lucky, or let's say spoiled, that I could get education all over the world. On top of my formal education, I'm a Bachelor of Business Administration. I was lucky enough to have tutors on all the different topics that I ever imagined or wanted to be, and I could study wherever I want. I could get any coach at any time. That is it. Then I moved from IT sector into banking. Namely private banking, first transaction banking, then private banking, then investments, property, all this, let's say, typical stuff that a lot of people is familiar with. And on the end, I've experienced breakdown, let's say burnout, and of course bankruptcy as the consequence of not being able to manage a high intense environment, in being unmotivated and unable to tackle all the risks. So I've managed a multi-billion-dollar portfolio before the burnout, and my companies had multiple 100 millions in turnover a year before the crash came.
Incredible. Not a lot of people have made, whatever it was, $600 million, and then all these other companies. And so it's one of the, I think, gifts of our conversation is that you are sharing with an audience of people that realize we're all the same. We all need accountability in our lives. We all have to take ownership, and we all have choices, whether that's with no money or so much money. We still all are going to create burnout, stress, lifestyle. It's all about choices, right? And we all have to learn. One of the things you had shared with me was that as an entrepreneur, and I'm going to say at least, 75 to 80% of our audience, are entrepreneurs. And one of the things that you shared to me, which I could relate to so well, was that as an entrepreneur, before we have success, have corrections we have to make, we're dealing with kind of an ego situation, and we underestimate other people's instruction and direction. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, maybe I would go one step further than you mentioned. And I would say that entrepreneurship as such is a response to a trauma where you hate authority.
Ooh, I agree.
And that is the reason. And the consequence is that you have what we would call inflated ego and a hyper individuality, let's say disturbance or problem. And this is also because if you are a normal person, you're looking for a good job, and that is your way to do it. If you have experienced this childhood trauma of hating the authority or problem with authority, then you have inflated ego enough that you believe that you can go against all the odds. And if you are lucky in the beginning, because I was extremely lucky in the beginning, the problem continues to grow because you're not doing anything about the problem, because you believe that this is the way you are, that your mindset is okay, and that you're entitled, and that is extremely important, that you're entitled to all the success and all the connections and all the money that you're able to make. So this childlike spirit that everyone says, yeah, you need to take care of your inner child, don't grow up, that is all. Yeah, it's okay. However, there is a fine line between being independent and being accountable, and being an entrepreneurship and making a huge problem to society and economy and stuff like that. We now know that most of the economic crisis arise from people that are that lack accountability, or what we would call they can get away with everything. And this is a trauma response. Yes, we hate them. They make a lot of damage to economy, to personal life, but it's a trauma response. So if it's not an excuse, it's just a fact. And if you survive a trauma, you are not entitled to damage others because someone damaged you. That is really important, that we need to comprehend that we need to act in a certain manner, regardless how others acted towards us. I think that is extremely important. And we need to be accountable for our actions. I assume full responsibility for my past actions, and I did a lot of things wrong and did a lot of mistakes. As I said, I'm happy to be alive and be able to tell the story, so that you don't need to try the firsthand, that you can just listen to me and try to avoid all the stupid stuff that is obvious to anyone if you read about it or if you heard about it.
You know, I love that. First of all, I want to thank you for the title, or how you've chosen to put entrepreneurship, ego, entitlement to childlike spirit. What a beautiful way to embrace and allow any of us that hear that as entrepreneurs. It's like, oh gosh, childlike spirit. You know, it allows us to accept that part of our being, it with a little more, that makes sense. We're these excited children, you know, and I think that's a beautiful way to put it. So thank you for that. I'm going to incorporate that into my, you know, to my language, my business language. And then also something else that you have mentioned, that regardless of how others treat us, that is not a reason, if it's in a manner that is not good on any level. It's not a reason, an excuse, an entitlement to treat others in a like manner. We are still responsible and accountable. And it's actually an opportunity, as my precious parents would say, take the high road.
Yes.
And be an example. So I love that you have said that. This transformation, when you were like, okay, wait a minute, I am going to honor other people's advice or leadership, even though, and maybe because it is different than I would have done or on my own. So you open up to learn and to expand, correct?
Yeah, that is the biggest challenge of entrepreneurs is you have to be willing to cross the line. Either that is in technology, either that is in finance, and you should be willing to assume above average amount of risk. However, and as a company's owner, you're not liable to anyone. That is a huge challenge, and especially if your position is being an owner of a company, not a manager of a company, but an owner. There is no liability. You can only lose what you have invested. However, that soon become the biggest what seems to be advantage that becomes a disadvantage, because if you're not liable to anyone and you're not accountable or legally accountable to for anything, then you start believing that you don't need an accountability partner. That means that there's a lot of good advice that you can just not incorporate, because for so many things in life, you need a coach. There's no person in sport that would be successful without the huge support of his or her coach. And as an entrepreneur, we are often, okay, we know about gurus and we know about famous people and all this stuff, and we listen to their narrative, and a lot of time is a movie-like narrative. Okay, I've come from a humble beginning, and then I made a lot of money, and everything was luck. I did not use any connections, and there was no backhand dealing and no corruption involved, and I made it because everything is clear. My story is just let's say the vice versa. I started on top and ended on bottom. So, but it's purely my fault. I assume full responsibility, because I didn't have enough self-awareness at that time, and enough of gratitude, and enough of ability to forgive myself and others that I would be able to take good advice from seniors, let's say, or other business people that dealt with me, or my business partners, or
Right.
my family. So it's just when you're there, it's a huge problem.
So many little words and bits of information that you're sharing that could be complete conversations on their own, starting with the word willingness. What a beautiful thing to be willing. The next thing is, you didn't say the word coachable, but you talked about people in sports and people in business willing to be coached. These, they could start out on top, but the only way to grow is to learn to get better and to be willing to become coachable. I'm thinking about, these amazing golfers, Scotty Scheffler and, Tiger Woods and all that. Everybody, they all have coaches and they're wonderful, right? But they continue to have coaches, which leads us to one more thing. And you said you were willing to take complete ownership. Ownership is just another word for accountability, to be accountable for everything that's happened. So, what would you share with the audience? I know that you said accountability partner, and you do a lot of coaching now, and thank goodness. And you coach. What's beautiful about your coaching, it's from every walk of life and every level. If it does not come from any means and didn't have the opportunity to learn all over the world as you did growing up, or if they're making millions and millions of dollars, you're coaching them all. So what is the common denominator that you share with all of the clients that you coach?
The first is that they have to have a reason and the motivation to change. They have already acknowledged that things are not good or not as they would intend or they envisioned it. So that is the first thing. And they have tried a lot of different approaches. A lot of people nowadays, they watch their diet, they do some exercise, they try yoga, they try meditation, they try all these different stuff. A lot of spiritual practices, they start going to church and similar. However, the things just don't add up. The result is not here. They use all these different methods, but the common denominator is that they cannot add up to the number, or however you want to call it, that they would like to have. And that is why I have developed this 12-step program of organ wellness. And we go through every aspect of life of a person. We start with values and goals, and we check for the trade-offs. And here is the first obstacle for most of the people, that they are not aware of the trade-offs of their goals.
Right.
And that is a huge thing, because if you want to have a lot of spare time, you cannot work 24/7. If you like staying at home, as I like to, you shouldn't be traveling 20 or 200 days a year. So it's you need to understand your business. And when you talk that I walked off all over the world, the same experiences, as far as the neuroscience is concerned, can be achieved on a single street in New York, for example. So it's not important to travel all around the world. It was important for me because I needed that lesson. But even without that lesson, you can improve enormously. Then I always go with the body wellness assessment, because I'm a huge fan of Sigmund Freud and Jung, and also Wilhelm Reich. And I do believe that body and mind are connected. So what I always go with my clients, if they're overweight, you need to get a perfect weight. If they have a health issue, you need to take care of the health issue, because your mind somehow protects your health issue, because there is a trauma hidden in the back somewhere that you're protecting with your illness. I'm a huge believer in that. Then I go into the Jungian stuff, like the difference between conscious and subconscious mind, because most people nowadays train their conscious mind. So they believe in huge goals, shoot to the moon, we need to do that, we need to grind, and that is all conscious efforts. However, this subconscious mind or unconscious mind, they have a different agenda. They might like good food on Sunday, and if you're traveling all the time, you don't have time to prepare a meal for your family. They might like to go for a walk every day, or they would like to have a dog or different animals at home. And your lifestyle that just does not enable that. So your subconscious blocks your conscious efforts, because they have a mind of its own. And then an important thing that I've learned is grounding and blockages, because our environment is highly isolated. We have clothes that are mostly made with artificial materials. So cotton, what it used to be, or other materials are rare now, or they're mixed with plastic. So we are not grounded to the earth crest. And we have a huge problem. We live on a sky, so high buildings like you do, so you're not grounded. But if we understand that, and of course, our buildings are insulated because we don't want heat inside in the summer, we don't want cold inside in the winter. So we are isolated from the nature. So we need to have some plan of compensating for this isolation. And when we start with grounding, the energy starts flowing. That is really simple, and it works like magic. So going for a walk on the beach, if possible, I would recommend barefoot. Going for a swim in the ocean. These are really things that will help you get grounded, and this helps our psyche a lot, because I do believe that accountability also comes from being grounded. Because if you're not grounded and you shoot for the sky, everything is possible, nothing is terrible, and so on, because you're just not grounded, because you live in a sky somewhere. Then the next important lesson that I teach is forgiveness. We need to forgive ourselves first for all the mistakes. And I'm a Superman in this, because I made so many mistakes. I do believe that all listeners together didn't make 10% of the mistakes I made in the past. And first you need to forgive yourself. And then when you forgive yourself, you're enabled to start forgiving others. And I think that is one of the strongest tools or deeds that you should do as on a self-growth journey. And the next one that is gratitude. We need to become grateful for even the smallest things. We need to become grateful for the smallest achievement, of course, also for the big achievements. We need to take time to celebrate. We need to show our gratitude. And also, when you go to a restaurant, when you get served, say thank you. Thank you for serving me. That is important. Show gratitude. Every person that does something needs to hear this thank you, and this little token of appreciation can make someone's day, and things just start turning in a completely different direction. When we achieve that, the next step is to synchronize our conscious and subconscious mind. Now that we have moved all these blockages, that we have forgiven ourselves and others, and now that we are grateful for things, we should start synchronizing our conscious and subconscious mind. Of course, when we did all that, it's time to set new goals. Because if our self-discovery journey was successful, then our old goals are no longer relevant, because we have new goals, and they're probably much different, or in like 80% of the cases, they are much different than the goals that we had.
Yes.
And that goals that started our exploration journey, because we wanted to achieve these goals. But now we see, after like 8 steps, we see that these goals were completely irrelevant. They're not synchronized with us. They're not in tune with us. So we are seeking to have new goals that are in tune with us.
Mm-hmm.
Then the very next stage in my 12-step process is self-control for materialization. It's extremely important that we control our reaction to what is happening around us. And we need to control our urges for food, for sex, for excessive spending, for all this. We need to control our urges if we want to be successful in materialization process. The next step is we have to align our plans with the law of attraction. The law of attraction does not work based just on our decision or a vision board. We need to have all part of our being in a same frequency, and this frequency is the one that attracts things towards us.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge task, even if it seems really simple at the first glance. But to be in complete alignment with ourselves, that is only worthy ideal. It's not even possible. However, the more aligned we are with ourselves, the better we can predict the results that are an effect of the law of attraction.
Mm.
Then I go with about organ information and organ energy. I would like to stress that organ energy is ever present because it's in atmosphere, and it varies during the day. So about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's the highest, and during the night, it's the lowest. And this organ information helps us attune with the nature, and that helps everything, because nature has this perfect frequency that can heal us, that can make us rich, and everything is possible in nature. We are just so isolated from the nature that we are not used to seeing it anymore. And then I stop with the organ wellness as a total concept for the personal wellness and also for the abundance, where I help my clients using different symbols, using different tools like organ accumulators, organoids, and similar, to their advantage. So this is a 12 step process that it usually takes, if you have a coach, about 6 weeks. If you're just reading the books and you're really good and diligent, it takes about 12 weeks. But that is still much better than my process that took 240 weeks. So,
However, look what a beautiful process. And look, I mean, you're helping people transform their lives through accountability and ownership
yes.
and information, and you're combining science and energy and grounding, and it's just everything is, like you said, in alignment. And of course, after that, you relook at what you're doing. And I think from the very first thing you said, about your process is that as entrepreneurs, or even for those that don't want to start anything new and, that kind of thing, they'd rather have, a job, just I'm going here and I'm checking out here. Still, those beautiful people, they still may not be in alignment with what they hope is going on. They don't want to run their own business, maybe, but this all affects our relationships. It affects our energy within our families and our communities, and ultimately the big picture, right? So this is important for everyone. I love 12 steps. I could have a 12-step program for anything you could bring up. Trust me, I mean that. This is so beautiful, Peter. It's so cool. And it's really neat for all of us, the audience and beyond, to say, oh my goodness, all of what I have learned has come from mistakes. It's just the truth. I realized that is how I was learning. And I wasn't learning through willingness. And so it's been, we're sitting here together because where I find joy is in other people's stories and how their learning process goes. And we cannot learn enough, right? And I just love what you share, what you do. What do you want to leave the audience with? I know, of course, everybody can see how to go to your website and such, but any last little gifts or notes or anything you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes, I would like to share this. It's never too late. And just a bit of a different outlook at life, a bit of luck, a good accountability partner, and your life will change in a matter of weeks, for some even days. I have clients and we change life. Every week I hear another success story that is just amazing, because we managed to identify the block that was there, and because the success is already with you. I would like to put that into your heart. You're already successful. We just need to find a block that this success will start materializing, and of course get rid of the block, or just acknowledge it and work around it, because some blocks we cannot get rid. If someone was raped when in their childhood, I cannot undo that. However, the attitude towards that trauma, I might be able to tune. And this fine-tuning will give you a completely different result in life.
Thank you, Peter. And thank you, audience. Can y'all believe this? This is such a treat. Really, I love your 12 steps from the beginning to and the beauty of forgiveness, but to put that into a step program and where you have placed each of these steps, I find magical. I cannot thank you enough. I can't look so forward to our next conversation. And I just thank you for that gift.
Thank you for having me on your show.
I loved it.
And thank you for sharing with your audience all the insights that I have been through. And thank you for acknowledging my story, that it's worth sharing.
It's just, and I'm going to leave everybody with this. You matter. Your story matters. The mistakes and how you overcome those, and your willingness to be here, you matter. And to have these conversations, I'm covered in chills saying that. So to each and every one of you, thank you for your time. Oh my goodness, Peter, can't wait till our next conversation. And hopefully that'll be sooner than later. Thank you again. Oh my goodness.